My name's Sue Hutchings. I live in a small town on the edge of Dartmoor called Bovey Tracy with my husband, who is actually a first aid trainer. So I learnt all my first aid from my husband. I've got no medical background except I am just a first aid volunteer. I knew Andy from walking football. When I retired from my job as a sports coach, I decided I'd retake up football, although I knew I wouldn't be able to do the running version, so I took up walking football and I went along. I remember on the night in question, standing in the middle of the pitch.
I'd just played a game and was off outside the court. All of a sudden, there was a bit of a ruckus just inside the gate.
I saw someone fall. At that time, I wasn't aware that it was Andy, and I turned and I saw someone face down on the AstroTurf pitch, and it didn't look good.
I think there was a bit of panic by some people, and you know, what do we do? Luckily, Sue Hutchings, being a trained first aider, really knew what she was doing.
So I went straight over, and that was when I realised it was Andy. And I knelt down beside him and I said, "Hello Andy, hello, can you hear me? Are you all right?" I put my hand against the back of his mouth to see if he was breathing, and I instantly realised he wasn't.
She recognised he was having a cardiac arrest.
And as soon as he was on his back, I opened up his airway and checked his breathing and looked down at his body, and he was actually gone. He was completely still. I knew then that the first thing I had to do was start CPR. So I did. I started on the compression straight away, shouted out for a defibrillator, and I shouted out for a telephone call, for a 999 call.
First thing I did, obviously grabbed the defib and ran outside. Andy was on the floor, Sue was already giving compressions.
As soon as a defibrillator is placed on a person's chest, it will start reading the activity of the heart. So after a couple of seconds, or what seemed like an eternity, it says, "Shock advised, shock advised."
I'm Andy Hannan. I'm 70 years old. I felt myself going with my... I had a feeling of heading towards the ground, nose first. And the thought went through my head, this is strange, and that was it.
Nobody could believe it, because he's known for being so fit. You know, he's not really a drinker, he's never smoked, good diet, always on about the football, always playing football. How could this happen to somebody like Andy?
I knew very little, if nothing, about defibrillators before Andy had initially promoted the idea of buying one for the sports centre.
It was an immense surprise to me that I was the first person to benefit from the purchase of the defibrillator some 2 years afterwards.
It was obviously a good thing to do. Obviously, because of the events of that night, I realised how important it is.
A couple of weeks after leaving hospital, Kate, my wife, took me to Wamford Sports Centre, to the 3G pitch where I'd had my cardiac arrest, and lo and behold, Sue was there. That was on a Wednesday night under floodlights, the same occasion where I'd experienced my cardiac arrest in the first place, and obviously I said it in person what I'd said, how very grateful I was that she'd made that big difference to me, the difference between life and death indeed, and very grateful for what she did that night and the effort that she put in terms of acquiring the skills that were necessary to carry out that act of mercy, let's call it that.
This is the woman who saved my husband's life. You know, my own life would be very different. I mean, yes, myself, my daughter, my son were all incredibly grateful to Sue for what she did.
I've thought about this a lot as to how it makes me feel to have helped Andy, and I will look at Andy and I'll think that's really fantastic that he's well, he's up and playing football again.
It was a great feeling to know that it was a huge team effort from everyone, from Sue giving amazing compressions, doing life-saving CPR, and myself putting the defib on.
And I feel really quite proud of myself for what I did, although I didn't really think about what I did, I just did it. But to see him playing walking football, to see him with Kate and know that he's able to carry on his life with his family is quite a remarkable thing.